What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move podcast. Today is February 22nd at 9:50 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm kind of paying attention to this Olympic hockey match as I'm doing this, so if you see me sidetracked a little bit, please forgive me. Thank you to the supporters, subscribers, followers. We really do appreciate you guys. Also, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. We do have a lot of NBA on today. Let's go through these injuries. I get my injury information from rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com. All right. Injuries. Players that are out today. Alex Caruso for Oklahoma City out with an ankle issue. SGA, point guard for Oklahoma City out with an abdominal issue. Jalen Williams, Jalen Williams for Oklahoma City's out with a hamstring issue. Zaire Williams for Brooklyn out due to personal reasons. Jalen Pickett for Denver out with a knee issue. Stephen Curry for Golden State out with a knee issue. Scotty Barnes for Toronto out due to personal reasons. Giannis Antetokounmpo out for Milwaukee today due to a calf issue. Cooper Flag for Dallas out with a foot issue. Neesmith for Indiana out with an ankle issue. Zubac for Indiana. On rotowire.com, they updated this on February 17th and said that there is no timetable for his return due to an ankle issue. Miles Bridges for Charlotte out due to suspension. Diabate for Charlotte out due to suspension. Kobe White for Charlotte out with a calf issue. Alex Soar for Washington out with a hamstring issue. Rudy Gobert for Minnesota out due to suspension. Sharp for Portland out with a calf issue. Dylan Brooks for Phoenix out with a hand issue. Devin Booker for Phoenix out with a hip issue. Devin Booker for Phoenix out with a hip issue. Did I say Dylan Brooks out with a hand issue? Devin Booker out with a hip issue. John Collins for the Clippers out with a head and neck issue. See, I looked at these injuries about an hour ago. So I'll go through what I have, and then I'll look back through the list to see if we have any other updates. Jamal Murray for Denver, questionable with a hamstring issue. Miles Turner for Milwaukee, questionable with a calf issue. Max Christie for Dallas, questionable with an ankle issue. Daniel Gafford for Dallas, questionable with an ankle issue. TJ McConnell for Indiana, questionable with a hamstring issue. Nimhard for Indiana, questionable with a back issue. Siakam for Indiana, questionable with a hamstring issue. Keyshawn George for Washington, questionable with a toe issue. Vukcevic for Washington, questionable with a hand issue. Sham Penny for Washington, questionable with a knee issue. Avdia for Portland, questionable with a back issue. Suggs for Orlando, questionable with a back issue. Kawhi Leonard, questionable for the Clippers with an ankle issue. Porzingis for Golden State is probable with an Achilles issue, and Caleb Martin for Dallas is probable with an ankle issue. All right, let me catch my breath. Let me see if we have any other clarification on these injuries. Usually we get a lot more information a little bit closer to game time. So it doesn't look like we have really any other information that has updated. All right, so let's break down this first game. We have Cleveland at Oklahoma City. Cleveland is on a 7-game win streak. Oklahoma City, 1-game win streak. Neither of these teams did play yesterday. Oklahoma City's won 2 regular season games in a row against Cleveland. These teams have played against each other 1 time this season, and Oklahoma City won that game 136-104. That game was at Cleveland as well. Today's game is at Oklahoma City. That game was also played on January 19th if you want to check that box score. Cleveland is 4-3 on the money line on Sundays this season. Oklahoma City is 8-2 on the money line on Sundays this season. Cleveland has lost 4 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date, February 22nd. As we know, Harden plays for Cleveland now. He used to play for Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City did trade him back in 2012. So if you guys like those revenge spots, you have that working with you today. When I checked this line at 9:12 p.m. Eastern time last night, Cleveland was favored by 2.5. I checked the line at 6:58 a.m. Eastern time this morning, and Cleveland is now at that time they were -3.5. The over/under last night was 224.5. It's climbed up to 226.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends, and Oklahoma City wins two out of 3 of those trends. I don't really see an advantage in one of the trends. I'll explain here in just a second. Oklahoma City is better against the spread this season than Cleveland is. Oklahoma City's 28-29. Cleveland's 24-33. So I'll give Oklahoma City that spread advantage there. Then Oklahoma City's 20-22 against the spread after a win. Cleveland is 15-20 against the spread after a win. So I'll give Oklahoma City the advantage there. And then, Oklahoma City has never been a home underdog this season. So they're 0-0 as a home underdog. And Cleveland 6-11 against the spread as a road favorite. Oklahoma City is a really good defensive team. They rank first in team defensive efficiency. I kind of explained about what that is on previous shows, but it basically just takes the pace of play out of the equation and looks at how good or bad a defense is. Oklahoma City, they rank first in points in the paint allowed per game, first in fast break points allowed per game. Very good defense, but they do struggle defending against that 3-point shot. They allow the 3rd most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Donovan Mitchell not only ranks first on Cleveland in 3-point field goals made per game, but he ranks second in the entire NBA in that category. Donovan Mitchell, guys. Donovan Mitchell ranks first on Cleveland, second in the entire NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then it's Harden, who ranks second on the team, 12th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. Oklahoma City limits those assists to opposing teams really well. They rank 5th best in that category. But another vulnerability with this Oklahoma City team is that they do allow a good amount of rebounds to opposing teams. They rank 24th in rebounds allowed per game. So I could see guys like Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen possibly taking advantage of that, depending on some other factors. I listed some of those other factors on yesterday's show at the beginning. Evan Mobley does rank first for Cleveland in rebounds per game, ranks 15th best in the NBA. And then Jarrett Allen ranks 20th in the NBA in rebounds per game. Oklahoma City does a pretty good job at limiting those free throw attempts per game. They rank 11th best in the NBA in free throw attempts allowed per game. So they're above average at that. Cleveland, pretty much the same thing, They are good at defending those points in the paint per game. They rank 6th best in that category. They are vulnerable to those fast break points. They rank 22nd in that category, so just a little bit below average. SGA is out today, and he is the leader for Oklahoma City in those fast break points. But I only really look at the top 50, the best players in each of these categories, top 50 of the NBA. But if you know somebody for Oklahoma City who's a decent fast break scorer and you think that they'll fill in that void today with SGA being out, so I'll give you a slight advantage there. Now, Cleveland is also below average at defending against those 3-point shots. They rank 24th in 3-point field goals allowed per game. But I've mentioned this before. Oklahoma City really doesn't have any 3-point, sharpshooters. Isaiah Joe is the leader for the team. He ranks 36th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. But I really got to give Cleveland the advantage here with Donovan Mitchell and Harden both ranking above Isaiah Joe, and Oklahoma City allows more 3-point field goals made per game than Cleveland does. So I think that's what I'm naturally thinking where Cleveland separates themselves today. They do rank 14th in assists allowed per game. So if you're thinking about an assist prop for Oklahoma City, you're going up against an average assist allowed per game defense there with Cleveland. And then Cleveland ranks 19th in rebounds allowed per game, so slightly below average. Chet Holmgren is the leader for Oklahoma City in rebounds per game and ranks 17th best in the NBA. Cleveland, they rank 16th in opponent free throw attempts per game. So, with SGA being out, we know, I've heard people call him a free throw merchant. But with him being out today, Chet Holmgren is that next man that leads this team in free throw attempts per game. He ranks 40th best in the NBA. So if for some reason you do like Chet Holmgren going over his point total today, I think, you do have that added benefit of Cleveland sending their opponents to the free throw line more than league average, and Chet being one of those top 50 free throw attempts per game leaders in the NBA. For those triple doubles and double double guys that are out there, Harden has had one triple double in his last 25 games against Oklahoma City. He's had a double double in 8 of his last 25 games against Oklahoma City, which includes that one triple double. Hartenstein has never had a triple double in 13 career games against Cleveland, and he's only had a double double in 1 out of 13 career games against Cleveland. Then we have Brooklyn at Atlanta here. Let me catch up on these. Hey guys, blessed Sunday. Blessed up. Let me check up on these comments here. Yeah, sometimes I have to zone in on what I'm doing up here. I don't forget about you guys, but hey, AZ Har, Blessed Up P says, I got some nice plays I need your opinion on. I've already placed 2. Okay. I like a few plays in the Oklahoma City and Cavs game. Hartenstein over 3.5, 4.5 assists. Yeah, let's go check that out, man. Hartenstein over under 3.5 assists or 4.5. Jalen Tyson over under 9.5 points. Mobley PRA over under 21.5. Might be on a min restriction, but I think the line's way too low. Blessed Up P says, hey, Audria, you the best. I'm your biggest fan. Thank you so much. Oh, I don't do any pet moves for anything like that. I don't get on here necessarily for donations or anything like that. I mean, they're more than welcome, but I just get on here to help people out with their NBA stuff, or try to at least give them some information. Let's see here. I like a few plays. Okay, so let's start with that Hartenstein prop you got there. So what did we say? Cleveland ranks 14th in assists allowed per game, so that's not terrible. We can go over to NBA defense versus position. Hartenstein is projected to be that starting center today for Oklahoma City. So what does Cleveland allow to centers? They are above average. Defending those is above average. At defending against center assists. but that's not the end all be all. Sometimes I wonder if we look at positions too much in the NBA, because sometimes, like LeBron, he's listed as usually like a small forward, power forward. I mean, sometimes he's taking the ball up the court, and he's running point. So that's the thing about this NBA defense versus position stuff. If guys play like multiple roles, but Hartenstein, let's go check his Hartenstein versus the Cleveland Cavaliers statistics. I think I said he's played 13 career games against them. So he's gone over that line in 4 out of 13 career games. 4 out of 13 career games against Cleveland. And then I think what I need to see here is Hartenstein on ESPN.com, looking at those advanced statistics, looking at his 40 minutes. I'm hoping at a career high, and they are. They are tied for his career high, his assists per 40 minutes. So that's good. Is tied for a career high. Something else I'm thinking of though, blessed up P, is with Jalen Williams and SGA and Caruso and some of these injuries for Oklahoma City. Will Hartenstein become a little bit more of a scorer today to fill in that offensive void? Also, with those two guys being out, those main guys for Oklahoma City, SGA and Jalen Williams, that gives, I feel like, less opportunity for Oklahoma City Thunder players to put the ball in the hoop when Hartenstein does pass the ball. I can't say that Cason Wallace, who's projected to be that starting point guard today for Oklahoma City, I can't say that he's as good as SGA offensively. And same with Jalen Williams to Aaron Wiggins, But also, what has Hartenstein done lately? How many games has SGA missed? SGA game log. Let's go take a look. So he's missed since the 3rd. Dude, these advertisements. I hope you guys can't hear that. So he's missed since that day. So Hartenstein, I mean, he's still getting, those assists, man. 11, 6, 6, 4. Since SGA's been out. I mean, he's had at least 4 in every game, it looks like, since SGA's been out. Let me click on SGA's name real quick. How long has he been out? Since the 4th of February. And Hartenstein's, he's gone over those assists. So that's something I was worried about, And then who has Hartenstein been going up against? Houston, Lakers, Phoenix, Brooklyn. Houston, who's a good defense, Houston, they played yesterday, right? Yesterday, before they played, they ranked 2nd in assists allowed per game, and Hartenstein still had 11 against them. And then he went up against now Houston is vulnerable to those assists to centers. They allow the 3rd, 6th most. The Lakers and Phoenix. Let's just go see where the Lakers and Phoenix rank. Lakers a little bit below average. Phoenix. Where are they on this list? They're below average as well. Brooklyn. Brooklyn was good at limiting assists. They are good at limiting assists to centers. And that's when he got 4 blessed up, P. And Oklahoma City is right there. So I think it's going to be really close, man. Considering all these factors and everything that I talked about, I would lean more, I think 3.5, that could be a big difference. That could be the deciding factor. 3.5 and 4.5. I think 4.5 might be pushing it a little bit. I'd be a little bit more comfortable with that 3.5. And then obviously, there's still some other information you could look at. Hartenstein versus, let's say, James Harden. Hartenstein versus James Harden head-to-head history. Now, I know they won't be guarding each other, but what if Hartenstein has had 5+ assists in all 9 career games that he's played against Harden? It's just, it's little stuff like that. I think that's worth looking at. Hartenstein against Harden in games that he's played against James Harden. And the reason why I looked specifically at James Harden is because he hasn't played for Cleveland very long, but Hartenstein, most recent game against Harden, he had 3 assists and then 6, 2, 2, 1, 1, 0, 4, 0. So he's really only had 4+ assists in 2 out of 9 career games against Harden, but his assists per 40 minutes are at an all-time high. So I do think there's a better chance than not that he gets those 4 assists today. And he's been cooking on those assists, 5 straight games. So and then what was your other questions here? I have them wrote down. Tyson over under 9.5 points. So, with Tyson, let's go take a look real quick. He's only been in the league for 2 years, so it's a little bit tougher for me to pinpoint what's going to happen with a guy who's only been in the league for 2 years. But something that I would look at, and I will look at, is bench points allowed per game in the NBA, since he should be coming off the bench, right? Bench points allowed. Usually when I look this up, they don't have it on a per game basis, which is a big deal. But the Thunder, they rank 17th. It looks like the Thunder are actually pretty decent at limiting those bench points. I don't have a good read on that one, man. But I would definitely look at those bench points. And then what was the other question? Mobley, 21.5 PRA. Let's go see if he's going to be on a minutes restriction. Yeah, I mean, so before he was out, man, he was getting 29, 30, 32, 33, 36. He was getting a good amount of minutes. Now, that game against Brooklyn was a blowout, Mobley minutes. Let me look at another source here. Yeah, I don't see anything that indicates whether he is or is not on a minutes restriction. But that's definitely something to, keep up to date with. And then we can go look at Mobley versus Oklahoma City. Mobley versus Thunder. Another thing is like with James Harden being with Cleveland now, does that take a little bit of Mobley's um, his point potential, his potential to score points? Does that take a little bit away? Because he's only played maybe one game with Harden, and he did get 21 PRA in that game, and he only played 19 minutes. You would think that the game here would be a little bit more competitive today, than this Oklahoma City and Cleveland game. A little bit more competitive than that Brooklyn game. So, I think if he's getting 21 against Brooklyn, he could very well do that here today. Let's go see what he's done in the past against Oklahoma City. 22 plus PRA is what we're looking at. He's gone over that in 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6, 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8, 8 out of 9 career games against Oklahoma City. Career games against OKC, which is really good history, Evan Mobley statistics. What is he doing good of this year compared to other seasons? His points per 40 is at a second all-time career high. Come on. I'm getting rickrolled right now with these ads. Hope you guys can't hear that. Rebounds, assists look good. I don't want to, look at this for extremely long, but I do like, that rebound opportunity here for Mobley today. He's that projected power forward for Cleveland. Oklahoma City ranks 24th in rebounds allowed per game, and he is the rebounds per game leader for Cleveland. So I do like that. And Oklahoma City is below average at allowing rebounds per game to power forwards, according to fantasypros.com. What about points to power forwards? Slightly above average, Oklahoma City, which is okay. Brooklyn was slightly below average. And then assists, Oklahoma City. They're below average in assists allowed per game to power forwards, according to fantasypros.com. So, yeah, I mean, I think it looks pretty decent there, man. Even if he is on a minutes restriction, I think he could get there. Oklahoma City is good at defending against those assists per game as a team. They do rank fifth in that category. And what is Mobley good at scoring wise? Is he like a points in the paint scorer? Because Oklahoma City ranks first in points in the paint allowed per game. Let me go take a look real quick. See if I can look to see if he's. Yeah, I mean, Evan Mobley ranks 26th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game, but he's going up against a tough defense today. And then you could look at, Mobley versus Hartenstein. Since Hartenstein used to play with, or did I already look at that? Since Hartenstein used to play with the Knicks, I mean, he's gone over that in every game he's played against Hartenstein, which is 10 career games against him except one. So 9 out of 10 career games against him. I mean, I think, the number one thing is to see if he's on a minutes restriction. But even if he is blessed up, I think he can still get there. It's on him and Chet to score. But with Mobley and Allen around the rim, he's going to have to pass more, I think, also. Yes. Yeah. And, if I am Oklahoma City today, I'm really looking for like Isaiah Joe, maybe even Dort to hit some 3 pointers, man, because that's where Cleveland is vulnerable. I would say the number one thing that I would be concerned about would be the um, the the points for Mobley. You know, Chet Holmgren. I'm looking at craftednba.com. It gives you a list of the best defenders in the NBA, and Chet Holmgren, he ranks fourth best in the NBA. Hartenstein sixth best in the NBA according to this source for defenders in the NBA. So yeah, if I'm Mobley, man, I'm looking to pass a little bit more today. Now, especially now that he's got Harden. Yeah, I do think the PRA is doable, but I would, maybe even try to see if you feel as good about the assists for Mobley, or yeah. But thanks for the questions there. Okay, let's close some of these tabs and move on to the next game. Just talking about it and looking at that stuff, man. Yeah, I think Mobley assists. I don't know what they're at, but I think they could be intriguing today. Um, and then I actually I have to go look to see what they are. I'm not gonna do an in depth look at it. Over under 2.5. Yeah, that's the thing is you like the PRA. I get it, man. I get it. You like that PRA probably because he's been going over that line a lot, would be my guess. It's just all about those minutes, right? The assists, I mean, He look from January 1st, man. January 2nd, so the beginning of the year. I mean, he's had at least 3 assists in 11, 11 out of 14 games since he's played this year, not this season, this year. And like I said, man, with Harden being back, could be an extra guy, that he's looking forward to pass to, somebody that he feels comfortable with. Then we have Brooklyn at Atlanta. Brooklyn is on a 3-game losing streak. Atlanta, 1-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Atlanta's won 2 regular season games in a row against Brooklyn. These teams have played against each other one time this season. Atlanta won that game by 5 points, 117 to 112 at Brooklyn on October 29th. If you guys want to check out that box score. Brooklyn is 4-8 on the money line on Sundays this season. Atlanta is 5-2 on the money line on Sundays this season. I did notice Michael Porter Jr. for the Brooklyn Nets has a 12-5 career record against C.J. McCollum. I don't think that really means a whole lot, but considering Michael Porter used to play with the Nuggets, McCollum is like coming off the bench for Atlanta. But anyways, I did write that in my notes. Riza Shea for Atlanta scored his career high at Brooklyn. This game is at Atlanta today, but it was at Brooklyn on April 10th of 2025. He scored 38 total points. So if you do like Riza Shea today for going over points, you do have that historical factor in your advantage today. It may be a little bit better if this game were in Brooklyn, but it's against the same team he scored his career high against. And we'll talk about it a little bit, but I do give Riza Shea a fast break advantage in this game today, considering that Brooklyn allows the most fast break points per game, and he's the third best fast break points per game scorer on the team and ranks 43rd best in the NBA in fast break points per game. But, when I checked this line last night, Atlanta was favored by 8.5. When I checked early this morning, Atlanta was still favored by 8.5. The over-under went down from 231.5 last night to 228.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends. Brooklyn wins all 3 of those trends. If you guys want to, I don't know if I'm going to be going through all the different against the spread trends today, but if you guys, want to just double check for your own sake on teamrankings.com, I believe is where I get those against the spread trends. Yes. You can, feel free to do that. What I will say though is Atlanta is 2-10 against the spread as a home favorite. So that's pretty bad there. But let's talk about team defensive efficiency here. Atlanta ranks 18th in that category. So they are below average in regards to team defensive efficiency. Atlanta ranks 23rd in points in the paint allowed per game. So I could see Claxton possibly taking advantage of that today for Brooklyn, considering he's the points in the paint leader for Brooklyn and ranks 43rd best in the NBA in that category. Atlanta's also, vulnerable to those fast break points per game. They allow the 5th most to opposing teams. Michael Porter Jr. is the fast break points per game leader for Brooklyn, but he ranks 82nd in the NBA in that category. So, Atlanta slightly below average at allowing 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Michael Porter Jr. does lead the Nets in that category as well, ranks 3rd best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed by Dimon, who ranks 33rd best in the NBA. Atlanta, they're slightly below average in allowing assists per game to opposing teams. By the way, man, if you guys want to talk about a different game or if you guys have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I know a lot of people may not be interested in this, Brooklyn and Atlanta game. Maybe you are. I don't want to waste either of our time if, nobody's interested in this. Since Harden's been with the Cavs, Jarrett Allen has been locked and activated. He balling. handle over points. Nick Claxton, rebounds and assists he likes. Yeah, rebounds and assists. Okay. Yeah, Claxton, he is the rebounds per game leader for Brooklyn. He ranks 31st best in the NBA in rebounds per game. And Atlanta allows the sixth most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Claxton is projected to be that starting center today for Brooklyn. And Atlanta allows the third most rebounds per game to opposing centers, according to fantasypros.com. So I think that looks pretty decent there. Blessed up P. Obviously, several other factors, but Atlanta also below average in those assists allowed per game. Like I said, slightly below average. They are slightly above average, according to fantasypros.com, at defending against those assists per game to opposing centers. But you may have found something that you just absolutely love about it. So, where were we? Atlanta, they are below average at allowing opponents to shoot free throws per game. They rank 18th in that category, so not terrible. But Michael Porter Jr. is the leader for Brooklyn and ranks 36th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Then we have the Brooklyn defense. They rank 25th in team defensive efficiency, so they are near the bottom of the league in that category. They allow a good amount of points in the paint per game to opposing teams. They rank 26th in that category, so they allow the fifth most points in the paint per game. Jalen Johnson is the leader for Atlanta. He ranks ninth best in the NBA in points in the paint per game, followed by Dyson Daniels, who ranks 40th. And then Brooklyn fast break points allowed per game. I mentioned they allow the most fast break points per game to opposing teams. Jalen Johnson ranks fifth best in the NBA in fast break points per game, first on the team, followed by Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who ranks seventh. Then Rizashea, like I mentioned earlier, ranks 43rd best in the NBA. Something that Brooklyn does do good at is limiting those 3-point field goals to opposing teams. They actually rank sixth best in that category. So that generally speaking, I would give a slight disadvantage to 3-point shooters for Atlanta today. At the top of my head, I don't really know any except, I think CJ McCollum has been doing decently from the 3-pointers. He's been coming off the bench. And then let's see here. Brooklyn ranks 20th in assists allowed per game. So if you like Jalen Johnson going over those assists today, he is the leader for Atlanta, ranks fifth best in the NBA in assists per game, followed by Dyson Daniels, who ranks 21st. And then Brooklyn ranks 13th in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So slightly above average at that category. Also, Jalen Johnson has never had a triple-double in 9 career games against Brooklyn. He's had only one double-double in 9 career games against them. But he's kind of playing on another level this year, you know what I mean, than in the past. And then Dyson Daniels hasn't had a triple-double in 7 career games against Brooklyn or a double-double. Then we have Toronto at Milwaukee. Toronto, 1-game win streak. Milwaukee, 3-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Toronto has won 2 regular season games in a row against Milwaukee. These teams have played against each other 3 times this season, and Toronto has won 2 of those games. I won't get into all of the matchups, but the most recent meeting was on December 18th at Milwaukee, like it is here today, and Toronto won that game by 6 points, 111 to 105. Toronto is 7-5 on the money line on Sundays this season. Milwaukee is 1-6 on the money line on Sundays this season. Toronto has won 5 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date, February 22nd. Milwaukee's won 2 consecutive games that they've played any team on this date. And then Grady for Toronto. Grady, he's been getting like 9, 16, 16 minutes lately. But, it's worth noting if you like him for points for some reason today, I'm not saying that I do, but if you do, he did score his career high in points at Milwaukee, like it is here today on November 12th, 2024. It was 32 total points. But I believe he may have been a starter at that time, and it looks like he'll be coming off the bench today. Today is Trace Jackson Davis's birthday, who plays for Toronto, used to play for Golden State. Last game was on 2/11, but it is his birthday. When I checked this line last night, Toronto was favored by 3.5 points. When I checked this morning, Toronto was favored by 2.5. The over under was 222.5 last night. This morning, 221.5. I looked at three different against the spread trends in this one. Toronto wins 2 out of 3 of those trends. The only trend that they don't win is, they're 6-6 as a road favorite. Milwaukee is 7-6 against the spread as a home underdog. So Milwaukee wins that one by default. Toronto, though, they are better against the spread than Milwaukee slightly. And then Toronto is 17-15 against the spread after a win. Milwaukee's 9-14 against the spread after a win. Team defensive efficiency. Milwaukee ranks 23rd in that category, so they're pretty bad in that regard. Milwaukee is, though, they're good at defending against those points in the paint per game. They rank 5th best in that category. They're good at defending against those fast break points as well. They rank 12th best in that category. Where Milwaukee's vulnerable is the 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. And Emmanuel Quickly is the leader here for Toronto. By the way, Milwaukee allows the 5th most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Quickly is the leader for Toronto in 3-point field goals made per game, ranks 27th best in the NBA in that category. I would maybe go check to see if you like Quickly points or going over those 3-pointers today. Maybe look at his history against Milwaukee, against Kyle Kuzma, since Kuzma hasn't played his full career in Milwaukee, maybe even against Kevin Porter, Miles Turner, a lot of different things you could look at here. But Milwaukee is also average at limiting those assists per game to opposing teams. They rank 15th in that category. Quickly is the leader once again for Toronto in assists per game. He ranks 22nd in that category. Scotty Barnes 27th. And then Shed ranks 29th. Milwaukee, they are slightly below average at rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. Scotty Barnes is the leader for Toronto, ranks 22nd best in the NBA in rebounds per game. But we did mention that he's ruled out today. So who's going to step up for Toronto and get those boards? Toronto, wait, let me backtrack a little bit. Milwaukee, it does send their opponents to the free throw line quite often as well. They rank 22nd in an opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. Brandon Ingram's the leader for Toronto in free throw attempts per game. He ranks 34th best in the NBA. And then Scotty Barnes, but he's unavailable today. And then Toronto, team defensive efficiency, they rank 6th best in the NBA in that category. So they're a good defensive team. They don't really have any big flaws, guys. I mean, really, their biggest flaw is the opponent free throw attempts that they allow per game. They rank 20th in that category, but I didn't see anybody from Milwaukee in the top 50 of the NBA in free throw attempts per game. I mean, if Giannis was playing, we know he's good at getting to the free throw line. Maybe not the best free throw shooter, but he is decent at getting to the line. But he's out today, from my understanding. But, Toronto's biggest vulnerability is going to be the 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 10th best in that category, though. Also, the rebounds allowed per game, which they rank 10th best at in that category. I gotta lean towards Toronto in this game, And we have Denver and Golden State. I think I like Denver in this one. I am a Nuggets fan, but I think I like Denver on this one. At least on the money line spread, I can still see the spread happening. It has been climbing, but let's talk about it. Denver 1 game win streak, Golden State 2 game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Denver's won one regular season game in a row against Golden State. The season series is split 1-1, so each of them have won 1 game against each other this season. The first meeting was at Golden State, like it is here today on October 23rd, and Golden State won that game by 6 points in overtime, 137 to 131. The most recent meeting was on November 7th at Denver, and Denver won by 25 points, 129 to 104. Denver is 2-3 on the money line on Sundays this season. Golden State's 4-3 on the money line on Sundays this season. And Golden State has won 3 consecutive games they've played against any team on this date, February 22nd. Also, Draymond Green does have an 18-10 career record against Nikola Jokic. When I checked this line last night, Denver was favored by 4.5. I checked this morning; they were favored by 5.5, and I think I checked a little bit before I started streaming, and Denver climbed up to 6.5. I think. Over under last night 230.5. This morning 229.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. Denver leads all of those trends 3-0. Denver, they're better against the spread in general. They have 32-25 against the spread record. Golden State's 25-31. Also, Denver's 12-9 against the spread as a road favorite compared to Golden State, who's 1-4 against the spread as a home underdog. And then Denver's 19-16 against the spread after a win. Golden State 13-13 against the spread after a loss. All right. So Denver, they rank 22nd in team defensive efficiency, so that number could be better. They're pretty average at defending against all of these categories. They rank 12th in points in the paint allowed per game. I didn't see anybody. Well, I didn't look. But they rank 12th in points in the paint allowed per game, so slightly above average. Fast break points allowed per game, they rank 15th. So they're average at defending those fast break points. DeAnthony Melton for Golden State is the leader in fast break points per game, but he's not great. He ranks 136th in the NBA in fast break points per game. I think if Golden State wants to hang around, they're going to need a big game from Moody, considering Denver ranks 16th in three-point field goals allowed per game, and 2 opposing teams, so slightly below average at defending against those 3-point shots. And Moody is the leader for Golden State out of available Golden State players today in 3-point field goals made per game and ranks 37th best in the NBA in that category. Denver is above average at defending against those assists per game, too. They rank 12th best in that category, 6th best in rebounds allowed per game. They are slightly below average at sitting there, giving their opponents free throw attempts. They rank 17th in that category, but I didn't find anybody for Golden State who ranks in the top 50 in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Now let's look at this Golden State defense. Yes, they are better at team defensive efficiency than Denver. They rank 10th best, I don't think this is going to be necessarily easy with Steph Curry being out and all that stuff, but let's talk about it. Golden State, they rank 15th in points in the paint allowed per game. So they're average at defending against that. Jokic is the leader for the Nuggets and ranks 3rd best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. So I think Denver can, really take advantage of that there. And then Golden State is also below average at limiting those fast break points per game. They rank 23rd in that category. Christian Brown for the Nuggets is the leader for this team in fast break points per game and ranks 29th best in the NBA. But I also just want to stop and mention real quick, Jamal Murray is questionable. It's hard for me to imagine, him even playing in this one. I mean, maybe he does. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But, Golden State is short-staffed with Stephen Curry being out. Um, but I'd maybe wait to see his availability. I don't know if that line will go up a whole lot if he does end up playing, but if he doesn't end up playing, I think it will go down more than it would go up if he were to still play. Christian Brown, yeah, ranks 29th best in the NBA, first on the team in fast break points per game. Golden State ranks ninth in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. They rank 16th, Golden State does, in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. So I can see Jokic possibly taking advantage of that, considering he's the not only ranks first on the team, but first in the entire NBA in assists per game. Uh, and then Jamal Murray does rank sixth best in the NBA in assists per game. Golden State, they're average at defending against those rebounds per game to opposing teams. Jokic is the leader for the team and in the NBA in rebounds per game. Golden State does a good job at limiting those free throw attempts, though. They rank fifth best in that category. Jokic has had a triple double in 6 out of his last 25 games against Golden State. Jamal Murray has had a double double in 1 out of 22 career games against Golden State. Yeah, I'm liking Denver in this one, and even if the line does go up, if Jamal Murray does play, I mean, even taking that line down a little bit, could I'm cool with that. But I think I want to wait on that news before I made any moves. But maybe you like it regardless. So, but yeah, that's a game I'm looking at today. Denver. Can we touch Hornets and Wizards? I feel like it actually might be a good high scoring game. Yeah, man, let's do it. The Hornets. The Hornets, I mean, that's a team that's on my radar too. I think that spread may be a little too high though. But let's talk about it. Charlotte, 2-game losing streak. Wizards, 2-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Charlotte's won 3 regular season games in a row against Washington. These teams have played against each other 3 times this season, and Charlotte has won all 3 of those meetings. Charlotte won at Washington, like it is here today, in that very first meeting on October 26th by a final score of 139 to 113. Blew them out of the water. The second meeting was on 12/23 at Charlotte, and Charlotte also won that game 126 to 109. Blew them out of the water. The most recent game was on January 24th at Charlotte. And Charlotte only won by 4, 119 to 115. Charlotte is 4-2 on the money line on Sundays this season. Washington's 3-6 on the money line on Sundays this season. When I checked last night, Charlotte was favored by 10.5. When I checked at about 7 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Charlotte moved to minus 11.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this game. Charlotte wins all 3 of those trends. The big one that I see here is that, Charlotte, they're like, I think they're like the second best team against the spread in the NBA. But they're 34-23 against the spread. Washington, I believe, is pretty bad against the spread, but they are 24-31 against the spread. And then Charlotte is 19-11 against the spread after a loss. Washington's 5-10 against the spread after a win. There are some notable like injuries and suspensions in this game, right? With Miles Bridges, Diabate, Kobe White still out, but the Charlotte lineup still looks pretty solid. And then Alex Soar for Washington is out, and they have some questionable players that I mentioned at the start of the show today as well. But Washington, Blessed Up P down here in the comments says that he thinks that this game might be a good high scoring game, and it just might be, man. Both of these teams are below average in team defensive efficiency. Oh, Miles and Diabate are back, he's saying? I thought they had to serve a 4-game suspension. I think that they've only missed 3 games, Blessed Up P. I'm seeing that they've missed 3 games. And here on rotowire.com, it says that they've both Miles Bridges was suspended for 4 games. So I don't think that includes the game he was ejected from. And then Diabate, same with him, 4-game suspension. But yeah, I don't think that includes the game that they were kicked out. So I do believe that they're both out today. But I would check up on that a little bit closer to game time. Like I said, uh, these injury, who's available to play and who's not available today gets a little bit more clear in those moments leading up to game time, usually about an hour before game time, sometimes sooner, sometimes a little bit later. Sometimes you even have those late scratches where you think a player's going to play. You look at the starting lineup 10 minutes before the game. It says that they're starting, and then something happens and they don't end up playing. It's rare that that happens, but it does happen from time to time. Okay, so Washington, let's talk about their defense or lack thereof. They have the third worst team defensive efficiency ranking. They rank 25th in points in the paint allowed per game, but I didn't see anybody for Charlotte that ranked in the top 50 in points in the paint per game. But if you know somebody for Charlotte that could get those points in the paint, Kalkbrenner, maybe Grant Williams. You have that in your advantage today. Same with the fast break points. Washington's bad at defending against that, but I didn't see anybody in the top 50 of the NBA in fast break points per game for Charlotte, except Kobe White, who's not available today, from my understanding. And then Washington is below average at defending against those 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Knipple, I mean, this guy is good, man. He ranks first on the team, fourth best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed by LaMelo Ball, who ranks sixth, Brandon Miller, who ranks 16th, Miles Bridges, who ranks 48th. In case he does play, and I'm wrong about that. I don't think he's playing today. But I've looked at a lot of different stuff today, so you guys might have had a little bit more time to look at this more in depth than I do on some of this stuff. But yeah, I think the Hornets have a lot of good 3-point shooters. And the question is, who's going to be that guy today? Is it going to be LaMelo? Is it going to be, Washington? It looks like they're about average at defending against the 3-point field goals made per game to opposing point guards. What's Knipple projected to play? Shooting guard. Let's see how they defend against that. They're a little bit worse, it looks like, compared to other teams at defending against the shooting guard 3-point field goals made per game. Brandon Miller might be the guy, considering Washington is the worst team at defending against 3-point field goals made per game to opposing small forwards. Brandon Miller is projected to be that starting small forward today. He does rank third best on the team and 16th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. I could, if you guys like Brandon Miller today for some other reasons, I think that's a good look. I'd be looking into that probably a little bit more. Washington also allows the second most assists per game to opposing teams. If Miles in the center out, Kalkbrenner for points and rebounds for Williams for rebounds. Cool, man. Thanks for letting everybody know. Yeah, blessed up P. He's been, a big supporter of mine for the last couple of years. So he's knowledgeable too, guys. Thank you, blessed up P, for letting everybody know what you like. Let me let that stay up there for a little bit more. Okay. But yeah, Washington does allow the second most assists per game to opposing teams. LaMelo Ball is the leader for Charlotte and ranks 9th best in assists per game. And according to fantasypros.com, Washington allows the 8th most assists per game to point guards. So that would be a prop that I'd possibly be interested in. Obviously, with the spread being so big, one would think that there's a bigger likelihood that this game turns into a blowout than some other games. Even though you see blowouts all the time, even in games that are supposed to be competitive, sometimes it seems like those are the games that are the blowouts. and these ones are the close ones. But one would think that this game has a better chance to turn into a blowout, which means that if Charlotte's up by a lot in the going into the fourth quarter, maybe some of those starters don't play, but they got to get there somehow, right? So, I also just want to look at the average scoring margin real quick. Is Charlotte okay? Charlotte's on the road, and Washington at home. Okay. Washington allows the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Blessed up P's in there in the comments saying that he likes a couple guys for maybe some rebounds. I'd definitely be looking at those guys for some rebound props. Washington, according to fantasypros.com, allows the fourth most rebounds per game to power forwards and the most rebounds per game to centers. And as a team, once again, they allow the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. They allow the fourth most opponent free throw attempts per game. Washington does. And Brandon Miller is the leader for Charlotte in free throw attempts per game and ranks 47th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. So not only do I see, Brandon Miller have that 3-point factor that's in his favor, he's got that free throw aspect. Obviously, I'd look at maybe some history that he's played against the Wizards and whatnot. Okay, so let's talk about Charlotte's team defensive efficiency. They rank 16th in that category. With all these injuries to Washington, I don't really have any players on my mind. You guys probably know about this depleted Washington team a little bit better than I do. But Charlotte does rank 19th in points in the paint allowed per game. So they're below average at defending those points in the paint. Anthony Davis and Alex Soar are the leaders and the only players that rank in the top 50 for Washington in points in the paint per game. But somebody's must have been picking up that slack lately. So I would try to see, who is that guy that's getting those points in the paint if you're interested in this game for Washington. And then Charlotte ranks 20th in fast break points allowed per game. I'm seeing Alondes Williams ranks 8th best in the NBA in fast break points per game, first on the team, followed by Cam Whitmore, and then Trae Young, who is unavailable from my understanding. Charlotte's pretty good at limiting those 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. They rank 11th best in that category. Charlotte allows the fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams. So this is an interesting matchup because you got the team that allows the fewest rebounds per game to opposing teams going up against the team that allows the most rebounds per game to opposing teams. So it's pretty cool. And then Charlotte, they rank 17th in assists allowed per game, so slightly below average. Keyshawn George is the leader for Washington and ranks 41st in the NBA in assists per game, followed by Bub Carrington, who ranks 43rd. I did notice LaMelo Ball has only had a triple-double in 1 out of 16 career games against Washington. He's had a double-double in 7 out of 16 career games against Washington, which includes that triple-double. Bro, you not? No, I'm not. I'm not tired, man. I'm pretty good. I used to really exhaust myself when I first started doing this stuff, but now, yeah, I try to pace it as much as possible. I mean, it's a little tiring, I suppose, but I've kind of learned how to pace myself a little bit better. I am real. How are you doing today, AZ? Thanks for joining the chat. Okay, so let's go to the game that we all are waiting for here. Boston at Lakers. Boston, 2-game win streak. Lakers, 2-game win streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. Boston has won 2 regular season games in a row against the Lakers. These teams have played against each other one time this season, and Boston won that game by 21 points, 126-105. It was played on December 5th. If you guys want to go check that box score, And that game was at Boston. This game today is at the Los Angeles Lakers crib. Boston is 6-3 on the money line on Sundays this season. The Lakers are 9-1 on the money line on Sundays this season. I think they were 9-0, blessed up P, and then your Knicks beat them, if I can remember that correctly, a couple weeks ago. Marcus Smart used to play with the Boston Celtics. Now he's with the Lakers. For those of you that like those revenge spots, that could be interesting. He was traded from Boston to Memphis back in 2023, so it wasn't directly to the Lakers, but he may have some animosity towards the Celtics for that. Okay, so LeBron James needs 12 rebounds. I know his over-under on rebounds is what? Probably something like 7.5. Let's go see what it is. I'm going to guess it's 7.5. 5.5 at plus chicken. So I don't necessarily look at the props as much as I used to back in the day, but I used to be able to call the line just on the fly like that. The thing is that he hasn't been like getting a lot of triple doubles this season, so I mean it makes sense. But he does need 12 rebounds, guys, to move into 23rd place on the all-time rebounds leaders list. He would pass Dennis Rodman on that list if he were to get 12 rebounds today. I'm interested to see, though, sometimes whenever you come across some statistics like that, I always look to see if the Lakers like play the Bulls here soon, since Dennis Rodman used to play for the Bulls, but they don't. Okay. When I checked this line last night, Boston was favored by 1.5 points. When I checked this morning, they were still favored by 1.5. The over-under last night was 228.5. This morning, I saw it at 227.5. Boston is 3-0 against the spread trends. All those three main trends that I look at, they win 3 of those trends. They are 31-24 against the spread. The Lakers are 30-25 against the spread. So I'd give the Boston just because of winning percentage, I'd give them a slight advantage there. Boston is also 11-7 against the spread as a road favorite. The Lakers are 2-6 against the spread as a home underdog. And then Boston's 19-16 against the spread after a win. The Lakers are 15-18 against the spread after a win. Boston, very good defensive team. They rank 8th in team defensive efficiency. They allow the fewest points in the paint the second fewest points in the paint per game to opposing teams. Those points in the paint are typically pretty easy. I mean, it doesn't get much easier. That's why I talk about points in the paint a lot, and the free throws. Those are typically the easiest buckets, unless you got, a 3-point sharpshooter like Steph Curry or something. Then those 3-pointers sometimes seem like layups, but Boston defends against that really well. They defend against those fast break points very well, which I know LeBron James is good at. I believe he leads the NBA in fast break points per game, but Boston does rank 4th best at preventing that. Where Boston is vulnerable is the 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 25th in that category. So I think, for the Lakers to stay competitive in this one, Doncic is going to have to produce those 3-point shots. Not only does he rank 1st in the NBA in that category, or 1st for the team, but he ranks 1st in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. So I think it's going to be crucial for him to do good from beyond the arc to stay competitive in this one. Just based on these general statistics. For all I know, excuse me. Austin Reeves averages 10 3-point field goals per game against Boston. But just like looking at these basic stats, that's what naturally feels like should happen for Lakers to stay competitive. Boston ranks 7th best in assists allowed per game to opposing teams, 9th best in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. team defensive. Boston also does a good job at limiting those free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. They rank sixth best in that category. While we're on that, the Lakers rank third best in limiting those opponent free throw attempts per game. So both of these teams are disciplined in that regard. And then we have, the Lakers. Lakers, much worse defensive team. They rank 24th in team defensive efficiency. They're slightly below average in points in the paint allowed per game to opposing teams. They rank 21st in that category. Jaylen Brown is the leader for Boston and ranks seventh best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then it's Vucevic, who ranks 50th there for Boston. Lakers slightly below average at limiting those fast break points per game. They rank 16th in that category. Here's Jaylen Brown's name again, who ranks first on the team, 20th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. The Lakers are slightly below average at defending against those three-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. So I can see Derek White, Pritchard, and Hauser potentially taking advantage of that today, considering all those guys rank within the top 50 of the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. Derek White ranks 21st, Pritchard 26th, Hauser 29th. Lakers are also slightly below average in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. So Derek White is the leader for Boston in assists per game, ranks 26th best in the NBA, followed by Pritchard, who ranks 30th, Jaylen Brown, who ranks 37th. The Lakers, what they do good at limiting those rebounds per game to opposing teams. They rank second best in that category. And then, Jaylen Brown has never had a triple-double in 17 career games against the Lakers. He's only had a double-double in 1 out of 17 career games against them. LeBron has had a triple-double in 3 of his last 25 games against Boston. He's had a double-double in 12 of his last 25 games against Boston, which includes those 3 triple-doubles. And then Doncic has had a triple-double in 3 out of 17 career games against Boston. He's had a double-double in 6 out of 17 career games against Boston, which includes those 3 triple-doubles. Like right now, I'm thinking Boston. In this one, but then we have, let's go see what other game looks pretty intriguing today. We can come back to maybe these other ones. I mean, that's really the one there, If you guys have any player prop questions on that game, feel free to let me know. I'll stop what I'm doing and look at some player props with you guys if you want. But there's obviously like a lot of different player props that you guys can choose from. So I do these shows to really try to help you guys eliminate all the other noise and like solidify some positions. Give you some spots to look at to start with, Also, like if you tune into other people's live streams, they may be talking about some player props they like. For instance, let's say I've talked about Jaylen Brown here a lot in that game. Maybe you go to somebody else's live stream that you think is knowledgeable and they talk about how they like Jaylen Brown going over this stat today or that stat today. Then you're like, okay, he starts giving you some more confidence on making that play. And sometimes, we got to keep it basic first, I feel like. So that's why I try to do these shows early in the day. Give you that basic foundation to work with. And then once you want to go to that advanced stuff, throughout the day and dive deeper into this stuff, look at it more thoroughly. I think it works out well. But sometimes, like if I feel like if I miss this basic information, why am I looking at the advanced stuff? Okay, so let's talk about this Orlando and Clippers game because my buddy texted me earlier and said who did I like today? Um, who do I like today? What's going on in this Olympic hockey game, by the way? Let me just go take a look at that. Is it already over? Who won? Oh, USA won. Cool. 2-1. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, my buddy was texting me earlier, asked who I like today. I think, places that I would start is Denver. I already mentioned that. I've already mentioned some other spots where I was thinking about like leaning towards a team or whatever. But this Clippers team is also intriguing me today. I know John Collins is out. Kawhi Leonard's questionable to play. So I think that information is definitely important before, I um, make any decisions about that game. The good news is that the Clippers did not play yesterday, so I think there may be a better chance for Kawhi to play here tonight. But he left that game against the Lakers on 2 days ago, so we will see, on his availability. But yeah, Orlando 1-game losing streak. Clippers 1-game losing streak. Orlando did play yesterday. And the Clippers did not. Orlando's won one regular season game in a row against the Clippers. It was earlier this season, and Orlando won by 28 points, 129-101. That game was at Orlando on November 20th. Orlando has a 2-6 money line record on Sundays this season. The Clippers are 5-2 on the money line on Sundays this season. The Clippers also have lost 2 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date. James Harden. Why would I mention James Harden here? He's with Cleveland now. Okay. But let's go back up to the Harden thing real quick because I wrote it down on this game instead. Harden needs 6 free throws made to move into third place on the all-time free throws leaders list. He would pass Moses Malone. That applies to that Oklahoma City game. When I checked this line last night, let me get a drink real quick. Somebody asked if I get tired doing this. Yeah, I've learned how to, pace myself, but when I'm talking so much, it just kind of messes me up. Okay, so the Clippers, they were favored by 4.5 when I looked last night. When I checked this morning, they were favored by 3.5. I think that line may have even gone down to 2.5 now. So it keeps going down. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends, 4 different against the spread trends, and I do give Orlando advantages in 3 out of 4 of those trends. Orlando is the second worst team against the spread in the NBA. They're 23-32. The Clippers are 29-27. So I'll give the Clippers the advantage there. But I do give Orlando advantages in all the other trends. They're 5-7 against the spread as a road underdog. The Clippers are 7-10 against the spread as a home favorite. Also, Orlando is 13-12 against the spread after a loss, compared to the Clippers 13-15 against the spread record after a loss. So I'll give Orlando the slight advantage there. And then Orlando is 8-4 against the spread with rest disadvantage. The Clippers are 2-9 against the spread with rest advantage, which is ranks worst in the NBA. Man. Let's see if my voice will allow me to continue. All right. And so, I think Kawhi Leonard playing in this game might be the difference maker for me, we'll see. But Kawhi Leonard, let's talk about Orlando's defense. They rank 13th in team defensive efficiency. They rank 20th in points in the paint allowed per game, so they're slightly below average at defending against that. Kawhi Leonard is the leader for the Clippers and ranks 31st best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then Orlando ranks 19th in fast break points allowed per game, so they're slightly below average at defending against that. Kawhi Leonard is the leader for the Clippers in points, fast break points per game. He ranks fourth best in the NBA, followed by Mathurin, who ranks 24th. Orlando, they're good at limiting those 3-point field goals. They rank second best in that category, eighth best in assists allowed per game, 12th best in rebounds allowed per game. So they're pretty good. Really, their only flaws are those points in the paint allowed per game and fast break points allowed per game. So if Kawhi Leonard doesn't play, it does worry me a little bit. It worries me a lot a bit. Okay. The Clippers, they rank 19th in team defensive efficiency, so they're a little bit below average in that regard. They do a good job at limiting those points in the paint per game. They rank 9th best in that category, but they rank 21st in those fast break points allowed per game. But, I've mentioned this on previous shows. You're typically going to get more points in the paint per game than fast break points per game, okay? But the Clippers do rank 21st in fast break points allowed per game. Wagner for Orlando, he's out, so he is the leader. But then it's Anthony Black for Orlando, ranked 17th best in the NBA, first out of available Orlando Magic players today in fast break points per game, followed by Banchero, who ranks 33rd, and then Desmond Bane, who ranks 50th. The Clippers are below average at limiting those 3-point field goals per game to opposing teams as well. They rank 19th in that category, but I didn't find anybody for Orlando in the top 50 of the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. But, at the top of my head, I think one of the leaders for Orlando was got to be Desmond Bane, So I could see him possibly taking advantage of that vulnerability there today. The Clippers rank 11th in assists allowed per game. So they do a good job at limiting that, a decent job at limiting that, I should say. Fourth best in rebounds allowed per game. So they do a good job at limiting those rebounds per game. I don't know if I mentioned this, but Orlando does rank 23rd in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. So they're below average at limiting those free throw attempts per game. And Kawhi Leonard's pretty good at getting to the free throw line. He ranks 14th best in the NBA, first on the team and free throw attempts per game. And then Banchero has never had a triple-double in 5 career games that he's played against the Clippers, nor has he ever had a double-double in those 5 games that he's played against the Clippers. USA won, I know. Yeah, so in these games today, man, I'm really looking at Denver and the Clippers, but I got to know if Kawhi Leonard's playing or not. I got to know if Kawhi's playing or not. With the Nuggets, I'm really looking to see Jamal Murray's availability. If Jamal Murray plays, I think that line might go up a little bit more, but taking it down a little bit isn't terrible. I would just hate to make a play on the Nuggets right now and then Murray be listed out and then the line go from Denver minus 6.5 to Denver minus, I don't know. What do you guys think the line would go to at that point? Minus 3.5? Would it stay the same? I would think it would go down. I think that line's set for him to play today. So if he does end up playing, I could see it maybe going up to 7.5. At that point, I just think the risk and reward, I think it's more rewarding to wait to see if he's going to play or not. But maybe you guys, don't. Maybe you guys love Denver regardless or like it right now. I'm not necessarily here to tell you guys what to do. We're all going to do whatever we want to do anyways. Just kind of here to talk things out with you guys and answer any questions that you guys have and give you guys some information that you may not have had before you started looking into these games. What other game do you guys want to talk about? I mean, I think there could be some rebounds in that Indiana and Dallas game, considering Indiana allows the second most rebounds per game. Dallas allows the third most rebounds per game. For Dallas, PJ Washington is the leader for Dallas and ranks 35th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. And then Flag is out today. So the next man up is going to be Gafford, who I believe is questionable. Yeah, he's questionable to play today. So I could see, PJ Washington and or Gafford eating the boards today for Dallas. And then for Indiana, I could see Siakam getting some good boards possibly if he plays. He's questionable with a hamstring issue. Philadelphia, Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia. People like Philadelphia. Let's talk about that game. Philadelphia is on a 4-game losing streak. Minnesota's on a 3-game win streak. Philadelphia did play yesterday, but Minnesota did not. Minnesota's won 2 regular season games in a row against Philadelphia. To 7-2 on the money line on Sundays this season. Philadelphia has also lost 3 consecutive games that they've played any team on this date, February 22nd. But today is Dr. J's birthday. Julius Irving, who obviously doesn't play anymore, but he used to play with the Sixers back in the day. Pretty good player there. Drummond for Philadelphia. I mentioned Embiid is questionable. He was actually out yesterday, so we'll see if he plays again. Plays today. But Embiid needs Drummond for Philadelphia needs 14 offensive rebounds to move into 10th place on the all-time offensive rebounds leaders list. He would pass Charles Oakley. When I looked at this line last night, Minnesota was favored by 8.5. When I looked this morning, Minnesota was favored by 8.5. Over/under stayed the same as well, 237.5 in both scenarios. I looked at 4 different against the spread trends, and Philadelphia wins all 4 of those trends. Philadelphia is better against the spread than Minnesota. They're better against the spread as a road underdog than Minnesota is as a home favorite. Philadelphia is 11-2 against the spread with rest disadvantage. I mentioned that they played yesterday and Minnesota rested, therefore Minnesota has rest advantage. So Philadelphia 11-2 against the spread with rest disadvantage, which ranks best in the NBA. Minnesota 7-7 against the spread with rest advantage. Team defensive efficiency, Minnesota ranks 7th best. So they're not particularly great at limiting points in the paint allowed per game, but they rank 14th in that category. They rank 8th best in fast break points allowed per game, 7th best in 3-point field goals allowed per game, 10th best in assists allowed per game. But then 16th in rebounds allowed per game. Drummond, I mentioned he needs 12 offensive rebounds to move up on that all-time leaders list. But Drummond leads the team and ranks 14th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Also, Minnesota does rank 24th in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. So they're sending their opponents to the free throw line pretty often. Maxey is the leader for Philadelphia in free throw attempts per game and ranks 18th best in the NBA. And the reason why I mentioned the free throw props is, let's say you do like Maxey going over his point total today, whatever that is. I mean, that gives you a little bit of an extra confidence boost, I would think. Going up against a team who sends their opponents to the free throw line pretty often. Maxey ranks first on the team, 18th best in the NBA. Okay, you could maybe get a few easy, well, I don't know if I want to call it easy because I don't want to miss in a clutch free throw for you. But you know what I mean. That gives you a better, increase that confidence a little bit on him going over his point total. If he can get some free throws. Let's be honest. I mean, free throws are typically, some of the easier shots you can make. I mean, they're unguarded shots. So from not too far of range, which that really doesn't matter to Steph Curry. But okay, Anyways, let's get back on track here. Minnesota ranked 7th best in team defensive efficiency. Did we already talk about Minnesota? Yeah. So let's talk about Philadelphia's defense. Philadelphia ranks 13th in points in the paint allowed per game, so they're slightly above average. Both of these teams are pretty equal in regards to their point in the paint defense, but Gobert is out today for Minnesota, so that could, you know, open up more opportunity for guys that are good at scoring points in the paint for Philadelphia, since Gobert is a good defender. Um, but Philadelphia, they rank 27th in fast break points allowed per game, so fourth worst in the NBA in that category. Dosunmu is the leader uh, on Minnesota, ranks 13th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. And then it's Anthony Edwards, who ranks 22nd. Philadelphia slightly above average at defending against the 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Philadelphia allows the 5th most assists per game to opposing teams. Julius Randle leads Minnesota in assists per game. He ranks 32nd best in the NBA in assists per game, followed by DiVincenzo, who ranks 45th. And then rebounds allowed per game. Philadelphia is below average at limiting that. They rank 23rd in that category. Since Gobert is out and he ranks 4th best in the NBA in rebounds per game, the next man up is going to be Julius Randle, who ranks 40th best in the NBA in that category. Philadelphia also does, allow more free throw attempts per game to opposing teams than league average. They rank 21st in that category. So Anthony Edwards is the leader for Minnesota. He ranks 9th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game, followed by Julius Randle, who ranks 16th. Also, Julius Randle has never had a triple. Well, he hasn't had a triple double in his last 25 games against Philadelphia. He's had a double double in 12 of his last 25 games against Philadelphia. Then Embiid has never had a triple double in 13 career games against Minnesota, but he has had a double double in 7 out of 13 career games against Minnesota. Yeah, that's what's up, man. Yeah, that's fire. Yeah, that was like one of the first hockey games I've been excited about in a long time. I do like NHL playoff hockey. I think that's pretty exciting. And it's not like I think hockey's a pretty cool sport, but just not like something that I grew up playing, I should say, right? I mean, I didn't have an ice skating rink when I was a kid, next to my house or anything. But I could always go outside, throw the baseball around, shoot a basketball. That's why I really love basketball. Is you can do basketball by yourself. You don't need anybody. I guess you could really do anything by yourself, but basketball it just seemed like the best sport to do by yourself. Um, yeah, playing football with the friends was always cool. What games did we not cover today? See if we can touch up on those, and then so we talked about Brooklyn, Atlanta, Toronto, Milwaukee, Denver, Golden State, Dallas, and Indiana. Yeah, we kind of touched on that. I mean, if Siakam plays today, I do give him a huge points in the paint advantage if he doesn't have any limitations. Dallas allows the most points in the paint per game, and Siakam is the leader for. If he plays today, he would be the leader for Indiana in points in the paint per game, and he ranks 11th best in the NBA in that category. Indiana, I'm just looking at fantasypros.com. Dallas. They're about average at limiting power forward points per game, according to fantasypros.com. But I'd also give Siakam a little bit of a fast break advantage there. Charlotte and Washington, we already talked about that. Boston and the Lakers, we talked about that. Philly and Minnesota, talked about it. I don't think we talked about Knicks and Bulls. Let's talk about it. Knicks 1-game win streak. Bulls 8-game losing streak. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Knicks have won one regular season game in a row against Chicago. These teams have played against each other twice this season, and the season series is split 1-1. So each of them have won one game against each other this season. The first meeting was on October 31st at Chicago, like it is here today. Chicago won by 10 points, 135 to 125. The most recent meeting was on November 2nd at New York, and New York won by 12 points, 128 to 116. The Knicks are 8-1 on the money line on Sundays this season. Chicago's 2-5 on the money line on Sundays this season. If you guys like Josh Giddey going over his point total today for one reason or another, he did score his career high in points at home, like it is here today, against the Knicks on October 31st of 2025. He scored 32 points. When I looked at this line last night, Knicks minus 10.5. This morning, Knicks minus 10.5. Over under last night, I saw it at 232.5. This morning, I looked and I saw it at 231.5. I looked at three different against the spread trends in this matchup, and the Knicks have advantages in 2 out of 3 of those trends. The Knicks are 31-27 against the spread, as just against the spread in general. And then Chicago's 25-32 against the spread. So I'll give the Knicks the advantage there. The Knicks also are 21-15 against the spread after a win, whereas Chicago's 11-21 against the spread after a loss. I'll give the Knicks the advantage there. But Chicago is 8-7 against the spread as a home underdog, and the Knicks are only 6-11 against the spread as a road favorite. So I'll give Chicago the advantage there. Chicago, they're bad at team defensive efficiency. They rank 26th in that category. They allow the 4th most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. So I can see Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson taking advantage of that today, considering that they are the leaders for the Knicks in points in the paint per game. And Karl Anthony Towns ranks 45th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then it's Brunson who ranks 46th. Chicago is also slightly below average at defending against those fast break points per game. They rank 17th in that category. Mikal Bridges is the leader for the Knicks and ranks 23rd in the NBA in fast break points per game. Chicago is also slightly below average at defending against those 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Jalen Brunson is the leader for the Knicks in that category and ranks 18th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. I think Brunson may have had kind of an off game last night, if I'm not mistaken. You may want to double check me on that. But, I'm looking at the Bulls and how they defend against point guards, 3-point defense. I mentioned how they do it as a team. To that specific position, they allow the 11th most, so they're a little bit below average in that regard. They're actually good at defending against points per game to point guards. So Chicago does allow the 3rd most assists per game to opposing teams, the 4th most to opposing point guards. And Brunson leads the team in assists per game, ranks 20th in the NBA in assists per game, followed by Josh Hart, who ranks 33rd, Mikal Bridges, who ranks 50th. Chicago rebounds allowed per game, slightly below average. They rank 18th in that category. So Karl Anthony Towns is the leader for the team, 2nd best in the entire NBA in rebounds per game, followed by Mitchell Robinson, who ranks 16th, Josh Hart, who ranks 29th. Was there anything else I wanted to cover about this game? Knicks, they rank 12th in team defensive efficiency, so they're solid. They don't allow very many points in the paint per game. They rank 4th best in that category, 9th best in fast break points allowed per game. But their vulnerability, and I mentioned it yesterday, is going to be that 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 20th in that category. Anthony Simons for Chicago is the leader for Chicago and is the only player for Chicago that ranks in the top 50 of the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. He ranks 25th in that category. But the Knicks are good at defending against the assists per game. They rank fourth best in that category. They rank seventh best in rebounds allowed per game. And then let's see, Giddey has had a triple double in 4 out of 10 career games against the Knicks. He's had a double double in 7 out of 10 career games against the Knicks, which does include those 4 triple doubles. Brunson hasn't had a. I just want to go look real quick just to see what that line is on Giddey double double. Plus 335. Not saying that he's going to do it. I'm saying that it's interesting. I did mention that the Knicks are good at preventing those assists and rebounds per game to opposing teams. But Giddey, he's had 19 double doubles this season. He's had a double double in 7 out of 10 career games against the Knicks. Anyways, Brunson hasn't had a triple double in 18 career games against Chicago. He's had a double double in 3 out of 18 career games against Chicago. And then Josh Hart hasn't had a triple double in 17 career games against Chicago, and he's only had a double double in 4 out of 17 career games against Chicago. So historically, out of those 3 players, Giddey has the best history at getting double doubles and triple doubles out of those 3 players. So. But Chicago, currently speaking, Chicago is obviously, more vulnerable at allowing those assists per game, rebounds per game as a team. So Portland at Phoenix. Did we talk about this game? I don't think so. I mentioned it yesterday. Phoenix is a really good defensive team. They don't really have a big flaw except they allow a decent amount of free throw attempts per game. They rank 19th in free throw attempts allowed per game to opposing teams. So, Avdia ranks second best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Jeremy Grant ranks 23rd. Shaden Sharp ranks 43rd. Another vulnerability with Phoenix, rebounds allowed per game. But, this could change with Devin Booker and Dylan Brooks being out today, So we'll just kind of see how Phoenix does with those absences. I think offensively they could have some trouble. They are good against the spread, though. They have the best record in the NBA against the spread. 35-22. I think offensively they could, be in a little bit of trouble today. Portland's not necessarily a defensive powerhouse. They rank 20th in team defensive efficiency. They rank 17th in points in the paint allowed per game. Mark Williams is the leader for the team, ranks 48th. So this is where I would look at how does Phoenix do without Devin Booker on the court, without Dylan Brooks, without both of them? Have they had any games this season without both of these guys? And if you don't know necessarily, if you can't find that information, I think looking at usage rate, I don't talk about that a whole lot anymore, but that's so important with player props. Usage rate, NBA. Let's look at Phoenix Suns. I'll type in my search engine here. Phoenix Suns usage rate, player usage rate. Usually takes me to statmuse.com. And you'll want to select the column where it says usage percentage at the far left if you've never done it before. And Jalen Green actually leads the team in usage rate, but he only plays 18.9 minutes per game. So, if he ends up getting more minutes than that, what's he been doing lately, He played 37 minutes against Orlando yesterday. That's somebody who I'd be looking at. His usage rate should be through the roof today, you would think. Just Gotta go see what his point total is here. Phoenix Suns. They don't have him even listed yet. And there, I mean, but yeah, I mean, his usage rate is through the roof. And if he's getting those type of minutes, I think, he could do good today. I would go look at what his strengths are. Is he a good fast breaks points per game scorer? I mean, Portland allows the second most fast break points per game. He could get a couple of easy opportunities at scoring some buckets there. Portland's not necessarily great at defending against those points in the paint. 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams, they're average. They rank 15th in that category. So maybe Gillespie could take advantage of that, considering he ranks first on the team, 14th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game. And then it's Royce O'Neal, who ranks 23rd, Dylan Brooks, who ranks 41st. Portland also slightly below average at allowing those assists per game. They rank 18th in that category. With Dylan Brooks being out, Gillespie is the leader for the Phoenix Suns and ranks 39th best in the NBA in that category. Portland also allows a good amount of free throw attempts per game to opposing teams, but the two leaders for Phoenix today are out, Booker and Brooks. But if you know somebody else that could maybe pick up that slack, could see that possibly happening there for you. And then Avdia hasn't had a triple-double in 13 career games against Phoenix, but he's had a double-double in 1 out of 13 career games against them. And I think that about does it for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If, you guys have any comments, questions, feel free to message me or Not Move Podcast here. I'm on a bunch of different platforms at Bettors. Probably, like X, IG, FB are the best methods to get a hold of me. And then, but you can also contact Not Move Podcasts. They're on a bunch of different platforms. I'm sure you guys know. And then, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And I think, Dollface Gremlin is about to get on the waves and talk about some hockey. I mentioned that I don't watch a lot of hockey, but I've been tuning into the show that him and A-Train and Southgate do, and they're fun. They're fun to listen to. They're informative. I remember Southgate was saying that he's been waiting on, and this was the show their most recent show, which was just like a couple days ago. Southgate was saying that he was waiting for one of those goal scorers to score a goal, and sure enough, he scored the first goal today. Who was it? It was Boldy, Matt Boldy. I mean, they asked him who he liked for anytime goal scorer in the last game that USA played, and he didn't say necessarily he liked it or disliked it. He was just like, man, I've been waiting on Matt Boldy, and then he nets the first one here today. So that should be a good show. I know I'll be tuning in, but yeah, thanks again for tuning into this show. Hopefully this helps you guys out. If you have any questions or anything, once again, feel free to let me know. I don't remember if I said thank you to the sponsors, but in case I didn't, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Take care. Good luck today.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.